Welcome to A Word for Wednesday. I'm so glad you took a few moments of your time to join us. I'm going to be reading today an illustration from a book of illustrations put out several years ago by Chuck Swindoll. It's been re-released under another title, but this one was called The Tale of the Tardy Ox Cart, published in 1998. Looks like I bought this in Wichita, Kansas, at Bookaholic at Park Lane Center. Boy, I got a lot of good books there. Pretty cheap. This one was a little expensive, but it was a relatively new book. I want to read the illustration from which this book got its title, The Tale of the Tardy Ox Cart. I have something interesting, to me anyway. Marking this illustration was a business card that I made up while we were living in West Carrollton, where we lived just before we moved to Kansas. I was doing a little subcontracting work, and on the bottom of this homemade card is a verse that I have loved for years, but I had no memory of putting it on this card. 2 Samuel 9:11, "As for Mephibosheth, said the king, he shall eat at my table as one of the king's sons." If you've heard me preach very much, you've heard me preach from that verse. I love preaching from that story of Mephibosheth, and evidently I loved it way back into the 90s. All right, stay with me. This is not very long. This is very, very powerful. It's powerful on patience. It's powerful concerning the providence of God. And it's good. There once was a young fellow who with his dad farmed a little piece of land. Several times a year they would load up the old ox-drawn cart with vegetables and go into the nearest city to sell their produce. Except for their name and the patch of ground, father and son had little in common. The older man believed in taking it easy. The boy was usually in a hurry, the go-getter type. One morning, bright and early, they hitched up the ox to the loaded cart and started on their long journey. The son figured that if they walked fast, kept going all day and all night, they'd make it by early the next morning to the market. So he kept prodding the ox with a stick and urging the beast to get a move on. "Take it easy, son," said the old man. "You'll last longer. But if we get to the market ahead of the others, we'll have a better chance of getting good prices," argued the son. No reply. The dad just pulled his hat down over his eyes and fell asleep on the seat. Itchy and irritated, the young man kept goading the ox to walk faster. His stubborn pace refused to change. 4 hours and 4 miles later down the road, they came to a little house. The father woke up, smiled, and said, "Oh, here's your uncle's place. Let's stop in and say hello." "But we've got a long way to go. We've lost an hour already." "Oh, then a few minutes more won't matter. My brother and I live so close, yet we see each other so seldom," the father answered slowly. The boy fidgeted and fumed, while the two old men laughed and talked away almost an hour. On the move again, the man took his turn leading the ox, and as they approached a fork in the road, the father led the ox to the right. "The left is the shorter way," said the son. I know it," the father replied. "But this way is much prettier." "Have you no respect for time?" the young man asked impatiently. "Oh, I respect it very much. That's why I like to use it, to look at the beauty and enjoy each moment to its fullest." The winding path led through graceful meadows, wildflowers, and along a rippling stream, all of which the young man missed as he turned within, preoccupied and boiling with anxiety. He didn't even notice how lovely the sunset was that day. Twilight found them in what looked like a huge, colorful garden. The old man breathed in the aroma, listened to the bubbling brook, and pulled the ox to a halt. "Let's sleep here," he sighed. "This is the last trip I'm taking with you," snapped the son. "You're more interested in watching sunsets and smelling flowers than making money." "Why, that's the nicest thing you've said to me." I love that. That's the nicest thing you've said to me in a long time, the father replied. And he smiled. A couple of minutes later, he was snoring. As the boy glared back at the stars, the night dragged slowly. The sun was restless. Before sunrise, the young man hurriedly shook his father awake. They hitched up and they went on. About a mile down the road, they happened upon another farmer, a total stranger, trying to pull his cart out of a ditch. "Let's give him a hand," whispered the old man. "And lose more time?" The boy exploded. "Relax, son. You might be in a ditch sometime yourself. We need to help others in need. Don't forget that." The boy looked away in anger. It was almost 8 o'clock that morning by the time the other cart was back on the road. Suddenly a great flash split the sky. What sounded like thunder followed. Beyond the hills, the sky grew dark. "Looks like a big rain in the city," said the old man. "If we had hurried, we'd be almost sold out by now," grumbled the son. "Take it easy. You'll last longer, and you'll enjoy life so much more," counseled the kind old father. It was late afternoon by the time they got to the hill overlooking the city. They stopped and stared down at it for a long, long time. Neither of them said a word. Finally, the young man put his hand on his father's shoulder and said, "I see what you mean, Dad." They turned their cart around without ever going into the city and began to slowly roll away from what had once been the city of Hiroshima. Now, for those of you that are not interested in much history, you may not know, or for those of you that are younger, that Hiroshima on August 6th, 1945, was the first place in the world with any population to experience the direct explosion of an atomic bomb. 4 miles, square miles of the city were obliterated instantly. Concrete block buildings completely destroyed. 80,000 people killed that day, and many, many, many tens of thousands died in the coming months and years. The world's first experience with an atomic bomb, and a father's patient hand saved the life of himself and his son. Now, I have no way of knowing whether that story is true, but it's true. Oh, it's true. If we would only wait. Wait, I say, upon the Lord. We are in so much of a hurry. My brothers and sisters, I not only speak that to you this morning, I speak that to me. Oh, press, push, go, 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 go. And all the time the Lord may be trying to protect us from some unforeseen destruction which we had no business being involved in. But we're in the wrong place at the wrong time because we didn't listen to patience and providence. Well, that's pretty powerful, isn't it? I encourage you to find this book. It's The Tale of the Tardy Ox Cart and 1,501 other stories. It's pretty good. I've really enjoyed reading that through the years. Mostly those years I was pastoring in Kansas, but I've been digging back into this book the last few days and enjoying it. Hope you have a great day. That's our word for Wednesday. May God bless you, friend.